Oh, here we go. Hey, I got a little job here. It's a job I do for the Captain Cook. It's hard to see the letters here. There's there's the left side of the stroke width. There's the right side. I'm going to use a brush that would get that in one pass if I can do it right. Us old guys, at least me, I don't letter every day like some guys are still out there doing it every day, so. But those guys aren't doing videos. You schmucks. And stirring up the paint. Viscosity is really a hard thing to discuss. That's what my paint looks like. That's starting to feel just about right. To me, it's my paint and my pancake batter. I like just about the same. I like thin pancakes. So there you see it coming off the end of my palette knife. Grab the old maul stick here and give me an idea if I'm even in the view. Yeah, okay. So this is an old style letter, kind of made up out of the head, and this goes in a hotel. And the previous sign painter was a good sign painter, and he left letters unfinished, and so I have to think in terms of almost crude, because this is a Captain Cook hotel, and theoretically these signs, once they get antiqued, are supposed to have that era to them. So it has to look hand lettered and unfussed about. So here we go. I'll thicken up that stroke a little bit. Where'd that guy come from? Oh, that's in the board. Well, you get to see how to do that. The paint will thicken up a little bit. The first stroke is always the loosest because your brush is just being cleaned out. So sometimes the maybe you want to letter a little bit on a newspaper or something. Like I say, I'm going a little bit bigger than my pattern's calling for. This little tail here is the time to put the maul stick away. Now let me get you set up for this tail. It comes off this R, and I'm following my brush because I can see my brush. Okay, you need to be back out a little bit. Come back here, baby. If you could see my Dr. Seuss setup for doing this, you'd have no idea. You'd know where I get my cartoon ideas from. Okay, I can see all the way. Here we go. We're going for it. Took my hand off my maul stick because I got to be free form here. The bottom line's kind of ragged. The top side of the line is the one that maintains continuity with itself. Right about now, you can't be a line follower. At some point, you have to go with the flow. Come back in. And that kind of raggedness is okay for this job. And actually, it's going to look pretty good, especially when I'm done with it. Okay. I'm going to come back to this just a sec, I'll be right with you. Alright. I have an italic-like letter where my thin part of the letter is on the northwest shoulder here. That brush hitting the top edge, and it hit the top edge of that cup with the back of the, and it flattens that hair out quite a bit. Gets it nice and thin up there, and it I don't want the bottoms of my letter to be anemic, you know, I want them to have a nice width to them. So flattening out that hair really works. The S's on my pattern, if we're a little high pocket, so I have to cut the spine down. I have to start my spine a little early. I hope you can see that pounce pattern in there, because as you're hand lettering, you're making the final decisions. Pattern is not your god unless you've really spent a lot of time on it, which I haven't. Part of the fun and part of what makes this job unique is it's supposed to look hand done, and it's probably would be better off if I did it with a brush that wasn't as good. Old Army Kirschbaum, I don't know how he did it, but he had a look at these letters that they were almost like 3D. Alright, now this has a little flick up here, so you get that paint off your brush in that first stroke. Take it down to about where your curve's going to start. Come back up here. Look at that. Oh God, I hope that comes out. That's just exciting there. Get a flick like that. And this is a relatively new brush. It's a, what the hell is it? No, it's not a new brush. It's worn off. Oh well. I think it's a Percy B. Baker. It's really full hair. I like to put the next letter in before I cross the T. See, check which way my slant's going at the bottom here. All right. Strategy looking at these O's, you want to bring your brush far enough past this 6 o'clock area on the letter so that you have a nice round bottom there. And I just looked over at my E, and my E is what I wanted to not have, and that is it's not strong enough weight wise. I'm going to go over there and get that guy really quick. Sorry you can't see this. Oh, I guess you could see that. See, I'm going to leave that little nook right there. This second stroke, my tendency is to go twist too far out to the right before I start coming back in. And man, the adrenaline just kicked in. I am all of a sudden shaking like a leaf. Maybe it's because I had two letters that look alike right next to each other. It's a little thick right here. You can see this first O is not as good as the second one. We just have to increase that upper shoulder. It's going to have to live just like that though. And here's another thing to think about. You're looking at this, you're looking at these letters. I'm not trying to help you make excuses on bad lettering, but those letters are going to be in the context of an overall design. And right now you can see everything about them, and in a little bit they're going to have an M right next to it, and that M is going to help bring some eye candy in here that'll help, or as Bill Sylvester says, eye wash. Not as much crack here as over here. I'm kind of given the idea of this being lettered with a pen. I'll go up and get that upper part in a minute. Alright, now the second S. I've run out of maul stick space. What I'm going to do here though, I can letter without it, but I'm just comfortable with a maul stick. I'll move that over. Have a little more room here. I got this camera laying right down in front of my eyes, and in case you're wanting to film your own videos doing this, it's amazing what you can see with the camera right in front of your face. It's you can see past it when you're lettering. It makes you feel a little cross-eyed, but anyway. This S also was a little high-pocketed in the pattern. See this, what I'm doing, I'm shredding the brush out, just pressing it down to get the width there. Sometimes you have more control when you're trying to get an outside edge fixed up. If you try to stroke it out, it's one thing, but you can, let me see if I can get another one. Should look over at that other S. I probably did it totally different. That's good enough. Two different, slightly two different S's. You got that one, that one. Okay, here's an area that got a little indent right there. I could try to stroke it out, but I can also press it out. See that? Just kind of press your brush down and roll it out. Okay. Now I got to letter this little arrow. This arrow was the toughest thing to put in here because, I mean, what kind of arrows did they have in Captain Cook's time? They probably would have had a finger pointing down, but the hotel doesn't like the idea of the finger. So I try to do these arrows with a little bit of flair, you know what I mean? I want somebody to look at that and say, hey, a guy painted that by hand. I'll leave that little flick in there. Now why did I do that? I didn't want all that paint on my brush, when I got up in those corners. That's why I started down below the corner. I charge quite a bit of money for these. Let me see if I can bring this out. Put my stick up there. There we go. That's what she looks like all together. The whole sign, hold on folks, the whole sign is, looks like that, and it gets antiqued and stuff from this point. I let the paint dry, and right when it's, well, in this step here, I'll let this paint dry, and you see these little spots, water spots here. This is actually charcoal that's put down when I did this background, and I put the background on one layer, got the salt shaker out with charcoal in it, just went around. You can see these areas right in here, and then rolled that out again until it rubbed it out. And I will do the same thing when I clear this. I'm going to clear it with satin, so everything has the same sheen. Right now I'm lettering with high gloss lettering enamel, and I'm going to bring the whole thing down to like a semi-gloss. And when I do that, I will trap the like out here on these edges. I'll put the clear on, and then I'll sprinkle the charcoal powder in this border area, and then roll that out, and it'll give the whole sign kind of a uniformity of age. Probably throw a few, put some paper over it and smack it with a ball peen hammer to put some dents in it. It's not radically aged, but then the clear I have, I put yellow in it, the kind of tinting yellow that your professional paint store would have. So that's about it, my friends. I'm just cleaning my brush out, and I will say sayonara. Let's see.